Let me go back to your notes. Okay,
These are like all the notes that I took at the marriage conference.
this is from March. Okay. Ephesians 5:25-33 instructs us to love our wives like Christ loved the church, to love them as an extension of themselves because they are one flesh. The relationships that last the longest are the ones that forgive the most. Love is not the most important factor of a relationship. The approval of God is. God must be the center of our hearts. No, God must be the center. Our hearts need to be aligned to God's will. Marriage is stronger when the connection is not just emotional or physical, but also spiritual. Praying together is fundamental. If there is no spiritual connection, the marriage will fail. Help your partner become more spiritual. You will not both be at the same level. Encourage each other.
That freed me a lot because like sometimes um I wonder like when I find a wife, does she have to pray as much as I do? Does she have to
Or does
like
she have to have the same calling as I
yeah,
do?
yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not called to children.
You must be connected in soul, emotionally, and physically. A marriage needs maintenance. Invest in the relationship. A marriage needs intentional connection in all three areas because we are triune beings?
Triune.
Triune
I thought
beings.
that was really cool. Like he brought the like in the beginning God created heavens and the earth.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about how God is triune. Like the word Trinity comes from the word triune. Like he's three separate beings in one.
Yeah.
And we are made in his image, so we are our flesh, we are
Mm-hmm.
soul, and we are spirit.
Yeah. Yep. It says lust is the enemy of love. Lust wants satisfaction at the expense of others. Lust wants personal pleasure. Love says we. Lust says me. Love gives. Lust takes. Love is patient. Lust says now. Love builds. Lust destroys. I like that.
Yeah, I think we've learned that lesson. Like
Yes.
it's a hard lesson to learn. If I could do anything, I would learn that lesson not by experience.
Mhm.
Like that last part though, like lust destroys, love builds. I
Mhm.
think marriage is all about like you want to build a life with that person. So lust is obviously like the opposite of building something.
Mhm. Yeah, it says attraction is a double-edged sword. Don't open the door. This one was like one of the ones that kind of stuck out to me from your notes. It says you cannot control who is attracted to you, only how you react. Invite each other into accountability. Trust your partner's intuition. Help each other protect your relationship. It says trust your partner's intuition. Like we both know, like we're different genders. Like I'm a woman and you're a man, and so I know like the way that woman thinks and the way that women can be sneaky. And like if I feel like in my intuition that something's wrong, like you should trust that. And the same way for you, like you know how men are and you know the way that men like do things,
Yeah,
and I should trust your intuition in that.
that one was like I remember when you told me I'm like I would never date you because you have too many friends that are girls. That like being like, oh, like why? I at first honestly thought it was an insecurity issue, but like I knew one thing that I wanted to be with you, so I did cut out like a lot of friendships. I unfollowed a lot of people on social media, mainly girls, and now looking back at it, I don't regret it, and I understand your point of view now. And some of those friendships turned out not to be as close as I thought they would be. You know, I think we can both be really naive, like, because you said it, like, I'm not in the mindset of a woman, like you are. You know what, like, how women think, and I know how men think.
Mm, yeah. Learn to speak each other's language. I don't know if you meant each other's love language
I don't
or
know. I think that's a good because I it's been since March, but
yeah.
that's a good hypothesis.
Yeah. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. We have to avoid falling into indifference.
That hit me hard because yeah, like a lot of marriages don't fall like the ones that I've seen, they don't fall like out of love because they don't end up hating each other. A lot of times they just like I just don't feel in love with this person anymore. I just don't feel it
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. Expose your relationship to the Word of God. Have devotional dates at least once a week. Pray for at least 20 minutes. Read the Bible for at least 20 minutes. Use topics like finances.
Yeah. That was he was talking about like daily habits and weekly habits that you can do. And he said like one of the weekly and daily habits is you need to establish a relationship with your partner in the Word.
Yeah. Yeah, and I definitely agree with that one too, because even marriages in church that are, like, I guess están bien bajo los ojos de Dios, they're doing things right. By having that marriage, they don't have a spiritual connection. They don't pray together, they don't read their Bible together. So I think it's just as important as putting in other work in your relationship. You also have to put time into your spiritual connection. And it's sad because like these marriages are in church, but they don't actually seek God together.
Mm.
It says have dates for fun. It does not have to be expensive, but it has to be intentional. At least once a month, set a date to talk about concerns or as an opportunity to be vulnerable. Ask God for guidance. Have emotional check-ins.
I like the emotional check-ins part because I don't think like
It's
I'd ever
hard.
heard of that,
Hmm.
honestly.
Yeah, and it's not as easy to pick up. Like you can see the physical reaction of someone, like if someone's being colder, if someone's just being more quiet, but you don't know like what is going on
Yeah.
beneath that.
Something really important that's not on the notes. This is something Jasmine told me. She said never talk to your parents about your marital issues because
Yeah.
your parents are always going to side with you. So if you tell them things from your side, they're always going to see your side of it, and then you can unnecessarily create problems between like
Yeah.
your partner and their in-laws. And I thought that was such good advice.
I agree on that too. Like not everything you have to tell your parents about because it like some things may just be a little disagreement and but your parents may start keeping tabs of all those things, like
Yeah.
mentally or subconsciously. And I think it's still good that you need to reach out to someone and talk to someone about it, but maybe someone that isn't as biased and will be able to like provide good advice, which we also have in here too somewhere. Be honest about sexual conversations. Learn to have candid conversations. Miscommunication leads to an unfulfilling sex life. Great communication leads to greater sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For that one, I think like we've definitely talked a lot about how like we feel in different ways that our sexuality has been broken. A lot of times by media, the things that like we hear from our friends, the like different circles we run into. Like for men, I think it's more common like porn
Yeah.
and stuff. It can give you a really warped view of. But
Of
even like
sex.
social media nowadays is crazy.
Mhm.
Like, and my parents didn't talk to me about sex,
Me either.
so
They just said, "Don't get pregnant."
so
Yeah.
it's like I thought it was cool that like that churches are having conversations like that because that's the last place a lot of people expect to have that conversation, and I think
Yeah.
sometimes it's where it's most needed. I remember this pastor or this hermano in church used to say like if you don't teach your children about sex, like the world is really eager to teach them.
Mhm.
The world is so eager to teach the things that we refuse to talk about at home.
School, they tell us to practice safe sex. They don't tell us not to do it. I had to seek out like what the Bible said about sex because nobody else taught me anything about it. So it's definitely not talked about. Okay. Submission is nothing without love. Learn to give constant affirmation and love. Wives should strive to affirm effort. I like that. Shower her with love every single day. God will judge a man on how he loved his wife. Love is not weakness.
That part that like we're gonna be judged one day by how we treated our wife because he was that guy he at the conference he's a pastor. He needs to be an evangelist. So he talked about how he used to think that God was just gonna judge him over the things he did in ministry until one day the Holy Spirit told him like your biggest ministry is your wife and your family. It's like you're gonna have like tú vas a dar cuenta, so you're gonna give an account more for what you do with your family and your wife. And I thought that was that hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, it says constant criticism leads to verbal abuse. One harsh word can carry more weight than many kind words. Verbal abuse cannot be tolerated. Words can carry an irreversible damage. If it becomes an issue, seek outside help. Unchecked verbal abuse can turn into physical abuse.
That part, like at that moment, I wrote it down.
Mm-hmm.
And remember when we had like that argument about some of the comments I had made?
Yeah.
I did not understand like how because I think for me I don't know if it's all men but I show love like I feel like showing love is like for me is like it's more important what you do than what you say and like I feel like I constantly try and show you I love you I love you I love you by my actions and so sometimes like I don't feel like my words always align with my actions but I feel like actions are more weighty than words when I went back and I read these notes and I read that I understood how you felt. Like it's not just a word. Like sometimes, like for men, I think men they need more respect. They crave respect, and women crave affection and validation. And so I can show you a lot of times that I love you, but if I'm not affirming you, telling you, and my words don't line up with my actions, it doesn't mean much to you. And just seeing that how like if I don't check that it can turn into verbal abuse and then later on like it could turn into something it's opening the door to more things. It made me like remember I called you and I was like look I read this and I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And it also reminded me of like the story that I heard from somebody who like their husband worked a lot and they were like always working to provide but never around the house and like that person got depressed and this man was showing love the only way he knew how like by he was going out working long hours to provide and what his wife really needed was his company.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes like I think it's more important not that what I do is not important that you don't value it but it's also important and more important because there's a saying that says sticks and stones may break my bones but words will never hurt me and that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
That really isn't.
No, it's not.
Sorry you can't put that.
It's okay. I forgive you. So jealousy is a symptom of insecurity or a result of previous relational trauma. Inner healing is needed. Have empathetic and honest conversation. Do not open the door to jealousy. Jealousy dies when there are no secrets in the relationship.
I thought that was important too.
Wait,
like,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Jealousy dies when there are no secrets in the relationship. An honest relationship closes the door to jealousy.
Those last two sentences,
Mm-hmm.
I think those are super important.
Yeah, it's key.
Jealousy
I thought that
dies.
too. Like, yes, like jealousy is, like a symptom of something else going on. But it says that it dies when there are no secrets in the relationship. And I think, like, definitely, like, for me, like, I'm a little bit more jealous, maybe a lot more jealous than you. And it's true, like, in the beginning, like, it was because there were so many insecurities. Like, I wasn't sure if anything was going to work out. You had so many other friends that were women, you had other people that were closer and, like, maybe more available. And like as we started spending more time together and like you started to reassure me and like we got to know each other better, like my jealousy has been less. So I think it'll get better too.
Well, it's there's also things that like it says don't provoke jealousy. I
Mhm.
think there's definitely things that I can do to help you as well. And I always try and do stuff like that. Like for the longest time when I was, did I try to give virgins that lane?
No, you're good here, baby.
When we first started like dating, I think that was back before or when we first like met. That was like when Apple Pay was barely a thing. So I did not used to have a passcode on my phone because like when I started my freedom journey from like, lust and porn, I told myself like if I need to have a passcode on my phone it's because I'm doing stuff that I don't want people to look. So I challenged myself to not have a passcode on my phone. Now I have to have one because of Apple Pay, but it just like it's such a freeing feeling to be able to give you my phone, like, and just not really care what you find on it. You might find some weird things on my phone.
I've never even had the thought to like look through your phone though.
But even if you did, like it's such a good feeling to like know that I can trust you, and you can trust me with your phone. Sometimes like that's not something like I think trust, having like good trust, is kind of like a good preventative against jealousy. And that goes back to trusting your instinct too. When you tell me like, "Hey, I don't like this person, don't hang out with them," like that's an opportunity for me to listen to you.
Okay, I think you're gonna take the next exit. Okay, this is the last one. Never ask advice from relationships or marriages with no fruit. So real.
Somebody told me too, like, don't take marriage advice from someone who's not married.
Yeah,
And I
who's
was like,
someone's
dude,
not married. Yeah,
yeah,
who's single because it doesn't make sense. They've not been in that
yes,
position yet.
yeah. People who are like single too,
hmm
they always be wanting to give you advice too.
They have good advice still, but I think about marriage specifically and relationships, it may not be the best.
On
You're gonna
this
turn left with
left
it.
side,
Yeah. And
this
that,
inside lane or outside?
no, because it says turn.
I'll probably be
Yeah, yeah.
in this lane, huh?
Yeah, because you're gonna turn left once we cross the little bridge over there.
Okay.
And so it's always hard sometimes to seek advice because not many couples or marriages that are older and have experience make themselves available
Yeah.
or give you trust to be able to come with questions that are vulnerable and a little bit intimate sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's a struggle for me personally. It's not that I don't want to ask anyone, it's just like people that are actually qualified to give me advice. I don't have
Yes.
that trust to
I feel
reach
like
out to them.
sometimes like the worst marriages be wanting to like give me advice. I'm like, I don't want my marriage to look like yours.
Yeah, and that too, like it may be coming from a good heart, but like again, there's no fruit to show. I
I'm
guess.
gonna see if I can like squeeze in here.
Okay, you can stop it, baby.
Ooh.
I'm gonna stop it.